Good morning. I am Jean-Marc Coicaud from the United Nations University. With us here we have Madame Irina Bokova, the Director General of UNESCO.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Madame Bokova, thank you once again for being here with us today for this conversation. And perhaps let's begin with a simple question. What are your priorities for your new tenure since you just got appointed as head of UNESCO? So your priorities to begin with.
Well, UNESCO is an incredible organization in terms of its history, of what UNESCO has done for this world all through the more than already 64 years it exists. I think that UNESCO has a special role in the present-day world. UNESCO, I firmly believe it's at the heart of the globalization. What used to be a handicap at UNESCO, somebody said, but you are too much dispersed into different areas because our mandate is within education, culture, science and communication. I think now it's our biggest advantage because the challenges in front of us, take it education or climate change or Millennium Development Goals, need an interdisciplinary, intersectorial approach. And we at UNESCO, we are best placed to provide this help and assistance to governments to formulate the better policies. Education, of course, stays as one of the main priority. With the Education for All project, we are the lead agency. We are preparing for the debate in September on the Millennium Development Goals, and I think apart from education, which, as I say, is the priority of the priorities, is the underlying basis of any government action for development and for more stability and more equitable balance within countries and globally. I think that there are a lot more need to put emphasis also on such topics as culture and development, and we will launch such a debate on developing science, new technology, innovation which will serve humanity, and it's directly linked with one of the greatest challenge, and I talk about climate change. Last but not least, it's the necessity to have more tolerance, overcome divisions in the world, to have more respect for the diversity. We at UNESCO are preparing for the launching of the International Year of Rapprochement of Cultures, which I will launch next month, and I will convene a high panel on peace and dialogue among cultures.
Yesterday, preparing for this interview, I was going through some of the statements that you gave in the past weeks, and I noticed three notions. First of all, new humanism. So what do you mean by new humanism? And I also read that you intend to have two priorities when it comes to programs, strengthening the focus on Africa and then gender issues. So first of all, new humanism. What do you mean by this, and what do you feel it is needed?
Well, in my mind, and I think the current last economic and financial crisis showed that we can't go back to the status quo and continue with the same, in my mind, unilateral approach towards development of our societies. We have to have more inclusive approach. For me, new humanism is looking at the marginalized circles in societies. I will be launching today the Global Monitoring Report on Education together with the Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who was kind enough to come.
Which is a yearly publication.
It's an yearly publication by an independent team, but hosted and commissioned by UNESCO, which is dedicated to marginalization, and that's why I mentioned this. New humanism also is about having a different attitude towards climate change, of looking at what are the effects of climate change and how they affect the most vulnerable populations. New humanism also, in my mind, is to have more respect for diversity, to have a dialogue between different cultures, to have more tolerance, I would also like to mention that for the first time this year we have prepared and we will be launching a world report on cultural diversity. It's first such an attempt to assess the situation in the world. And finally, in my mind, New Humanism also, and Humanism is about having a more democratic societies, more respect for human rights. We are also very much involved in freedom of expression. I think that we have to, if you allow me to say it, kind of go back to some initial values that UNESCO was based on when it was created, of course from the perspective of current day challenges in the world and all the dynamic developments.
And this within nations and among nations.
Yes, yes, very much so, because we are promoting all this cooperation based on these principles among nations, and especially in this very globalized, interconnected, interdependent world.
Yes.
I think what UNESCO does can make a huge difference for national developments and also for the overall development strategies.
So New Humanism would be your overarching theme, and then more specifically you have these concerns about Africa and gender.
Yes.
So Africa.
And because, yes, you mentioned these two horizontal priorities of UNESCO, which are also my priorities in my personal agenda. This is also linked to my ideas about humanism. We see, and I have traveled extensively across Africa, and when we talk about the least developed countries and the huge challenges some of these countries still confront in order to reach the Millennium Development Goals, and I'm talking specifically about education, about illiteracy still persisting. We know that still in the world there are 800 million illiterate people. 2/3 of them are women and girls, and the majority of them are in Africa. So it's obvious that we have to focus. Of course, UNESCO is a global organization, but priority Africa is accepted by everybody as an important priority, horizontal. And then, of course, it's gender equality. We know that within the reform of the United Nations system also, one UN gender equality emerges as one of the underarching new endeavors of the whole United Nations system. With UNESCO, it's extremely important because, in my mind, it's not enough to declare also the necessity and the value of gender equality, which in my mind is probably the most humanistic objective of the 21st century. But we have to make this happen. We have to change societies. We have to change mentalities. We have to make possible that girls go to school. We have to make possible that women are involved in science and research. We do have at UNESCO an extremely important initiative for that matter. It's the UNESCO L'Oréal Prize for Women in Science, which gives not only visibility but also in real terms supports women and gives them the possibility. We're very proud, for example, that the two out of this year's Nobel Prize winners, two of the Nobel Prize winners, women, first were our L'Oréal UNESCO Prize winners. So we are proud to also have this possibility to
but in
demonstrate.
concrete terms, how do you go about implementing this overarching theme of new humanism and these goals regarding Africa and gender? Because the budget of UNESCO is quite small. I think it's close to $700 million for 2 years. So how do you bridge the gap between global mandates and relatively modest means, which is a constant when it comes to international organizations?
The easiest response would be difficult, but with difficulty. But I have to say that yes, our budget is modest against the ambitions and the ideas that we have, but we do. I do understand.
And most people don't realize this.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Sometimes the expectations are that we deliver development aid, but we are not the typical development aid agency. We are more in the policy setting. We are in the accompanying governments for the capacity building, for the policy formulation. We do a lot into benchmarking, into standard setting.
Yes.
We promote a lot of South-South cooperation. We try to give also good examples of right policies in our mind in different areas. And we do make a lot of advocacy, world advocacy for certain causes. At the same time, of course, we do have projects and programs on the field. We have some extra budgetary resources. We try to be very strong in the ideas that we promote and to convince our sister agencies and other partners that we have that they have to support us financially to implement certain projects like we have done in many countries. We have 53 UNESCO offices all over the world. We have 7 institutes. We have a very big network of so-called, in our jargon, Category 2 institutes. These are national centers, but under the auspices of UNESCO. We sit in their governing bodies to formulate policies. And I give an example that with the Copenhagen conference, I launched the UNESCO initiative for climate change, where we try to formulate, to put together the activities that we have across the different sectors. And if you allow me, I want just to say a word about that, because I think it's very important. And we are strong, we have specific niches through the science sector, science programs that we have in the biotechnology. In fact, we are having, I will be launching the International Year of Biodiversity next week in Paris with a big scientific conference. We have a strong programs in the area of biodiversity. We have our bioreserves through the Man and Biosphere program, which, if put together, all these bioreserves that we monitor occupy the territory of India.
Yes.
It's a huge natural asset also. Then it's the International Oceanographic Commission, and everything that we are doing through this extremely important international intergovernmental body to a lot of research in the oceans. We were extremely satisfied 2 weeks ago when the tsunami took place in the Solomon Islands. It was because of the tsunami preventive mechanism which exists and which has been elaborated within the International Oceanographic Commission. We could save lives because the population, people were prevented from so, and then of course it comes the education for sustainable development. We have also specific programs in the within the World Heritage Convention. In our list of World Heritage Sites, almost 1/3 are natural sites. These are natural parks, areas, protected areas, which we also think we outreach to climate change. And if you allow me, an important aspect I want to add, also it's very specific for UNESCO. We are probably the only agency that we looked at the ethical and moral side of climate change. So our last general conference instructed us to make a research and feasibility study and to see whether probably we could put together all the elements of such an ethical document for climate change.
So the justice requirements of climate change. So normative guidelines, policy recommendations, advocacy awareness. So that's your way to try to fulfill your mandate. So I would imagine, perhaps as a way to conclude, that partnerships with other international organizations, the World Bank, the UN, UNU, are quite important as a way to really for you to push forward your agenda.
It's extremely important, and I will give you an example with the last priority that I want to mention, horizontal. You mentioned gender equality. And I have to say that for me it's an extremely important priority. It trespasses all the sectors. We are working now on launching a new initiative on education for girls. worldwide, and focusing also more specifically on probably on Africa, on countries that still confront, and some other, of course, regions, who still confront the problems. And we do envisage, and I will be working in making the advocacy for such a priority, of course, to work with the financial institutions, with partners. We are receiving extra budgetary resources, as I said. We receive also from very many different funds around the world, resources for that matter. And we will be, I have set already a task force on looking at the innovative ways of financing different activities, so new partnerships. I will be going tomorrow to Washington. I will be talking to the World Bank, to the International Monetary Fund, to see how we can strengthen our cooperation and try to convince them that we are really serious and we need to be supported.
I know that you have a busy day today, so and I think we have to let you go. Therefore, this is the end of our conversation. Madame Bokova, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Once again, congratulations for your new post, and best of luck for the 4 coming years.
Thank you. I invite you to follow more closely our activities at
Yes.
UNESCO. We will be very happy to join with you in that endeavor.
Thank you, Madame. So this is the end of our conversation. I am Jean-Marc Coicaud from the United Nations University, and we were having a conversation with Madame Bokova regarding new responsibilities in the context of heading UNESCO. Thank you. Thank you, Madame.
Thank you.